How does terrain theory explain contagion? This question literally all the time. How do you explain chickenpox? How do you explain me getting sick from my child? It's important to understand that contagion is an objective myth. Did you know that in the current scientific literature, there are over 200 plus failed contagion studies? Many of them done in the 1900s, 1800s, some of them being done in the modern era, all of them objectively failing. Regardless of any disease, chickenpox, the flu, COVID, tuberculosis, they tried and they failed. So there has to be another explanation. I'm going to give you within the terrain model all the possibilities that we explain the phenomenon of supposed contagion, even though it's been disproven. Most simple and logical explanation, first one being common exposure. When we're all exposed to the same weather that is changing, all of our respiratory tracts are going to adapt, meaning that we're all going to likely have cold or flu-like symptoms. If a bunch of kids are thrown into the school year at the same time, fed the same food, exposed to the same stress, they may all have the same pathology at once. If a pod of dolphins are all swimming in an area of the ocean that is poisoned with oil or garbage, they're all going to get sick. So if we're all exposed to the same exact stressors, toxins, changes in our environment, we're all going to respond to that environment in the same disease process. Second possibility is bioresonance, our bioelectric field actually communicating with each other. It's a known fact that the bioelectric field of our hearts can affect the other people around us, especially those we love. So is it possible that our bioelectric field is communicating in a very intelligent way to people around us that, hey, there's a stressor, there's something going on here, let me help you detox in the same way. The phenomenon of unseen contagion is very common when you think about it. Women that are close friends or love each other tend to sync their menstrual cycles together without any physical explanation there. Many women also sync their menstrual cycles with the moon cycle. Again, we can't really explain that with physical science. When someone has bad vibes or bad energy, we feel it. When someone starts laughing or smiling, we instinctually want to laugh and smile with them. If someone starts scratching their back, now you instinctually want to scratch your back. And that goes into the third possibility of mirror neurons. We tend to mirror our environment without even trying. Whether it's through scratching or laughing or yawning, we will mimic the people around us. That is another possibility. Fourth possibility is microzyma communication. The microzymas have been proven without a shadow of a doubt by Béchamp, Enderlein, Naessens, and many others in the field of pleomorphism. They are the smallest unit of life, smaller than cells. They surround our interstitial fluids, they are in our blood, they communicate with our cells, with our organs, and they become bacteria, fungus, yeast, mold, depending on the environment they inhabit. And they will change their size, shape, morphology, and role, again, depending on the terrain that they are in. Can it be possible that these microzyma that create us, that are us, are communicating with our friends, with our family, whenever we or them are detoxing? When we know a detox or a disease process is actually just a response to a change in our environment, whether through stress, whether through toxicity, whether through a change in our environment, regardless of what it is. Can these microzyma be capable of communicating with each other? That is something we need to look more into. Fifth possibility is toxin runoff. So maybe you have diarrhea, maybe you have vomiting, maybe you're coughing up a lot of phlegm. All of that metabolic waste is being actively removed from your body. So if you, a family member for instance, are exposed to the same metabolic waste that contains the same stressors that the body is actively removing, you can then possibly become ill from that metabolic waste. I'm not saying this is actually what happens, but it's definitely a logical possibility. Sixth possibility is water communication, which has been conclusively shown by the work of Veda Austin. Veda Austin showed that water can communicate messages with the medium surrounding it regarding energy, regarding intention, regarding images. Water can actually harness the message and communicate the message to its surrounding mediums. It's absolutely insane. Work of Veda Austin actually built off of the work of Emoto out of Japan, who showed conclusively that specific emotions, intention, symbols, words can actually affect the structure of water molecularly. So what I'm hinting at is, since we are bioelectric water-based beings, we are 99% molecularly water, can our water actually be communicating a disease process to our neighbors, to our family, to our friends in a very intelligent, adaptive way? So the body is like, hey, I'm expressing this way because there's a toxin somewhere. You're gonna need to do the same thing since you haven't done it already. We know water can communicate. These are just possibilities, but we really need to look more into this. And that's why I implore people to do more work regarding water communication, since we are walking water. I tend to agree with all of these possibilities and kind of merge them into one to explain the idea of contagion. Even though in the vast majority of cases, we tend to forget that we don't become sick when our family or friends get sick. We only tend to focus on when we do get sick. Personally, for me, when I started looking into terrain and actually applying it in my life, anytime my family or my wife or my brother would get sick, I would not get sick. And I started to notice, wait a second, contagion might just be a total myth, especially when you read the over 200 plus published studies that you can check out at my post, as well as the book, Can You Catch a Cold by Daniel Roitas, that explains perfectly that the methodologies of these experiments actually were kind of scientific in a way, and sometimes they weren't scientific. They would just take glops of stuff and shove it into people, and even then, they wouldn't cause any disease. Isolated germs do not cause any disease. Pasteur failed. Koch failed. The CDC and the World Health Organization always fail to try and isolate these germs and cause disease. So if the germs themselves do not cause disease, if the actual clinical fluids have been studied and tried and experimented with and don't cause disease, there has to be another explanation. We tend to only really focus on the 5 kids that got chickenpox from the chickenpox party and not the 8 kids that didn't. We tend to only focus on the couple people that got herpes from their partner and not the dozens of other people that did not develop herpes from their partner. The key is the terrain. If your terrain is healthy, your body will not need to detox in the same way that another person would. But even if there was a supposed detox that your body needs to communicate, in many instances, in over 200 plus published studies, it's been shown to be an abject failure. Regardless, chickenpox, polio, tuberculosis, Spanish flu, COVID, you name the disease, they've tried to make people sick with it and they failed every time. Guys, falsification does not require a replacement theory. Once we falsify a theory, it is no longer apt to believe it. If you believe it, that's great. It's just a story. It is no longer a valid scientific theory, meaning virology is a total pseudoscience. Germ theory and the idea of contagion are both null hypotheses. Louis Pasteur said on his deathbed, Claude Bernard was right. The germ is nothing. The terrain is everything.